afternoon. I'm Ralph Newell, and this is In the Margins. Today we have with us President of Angelo State University, Lieutenant General Ronnie Hawkins. Good afternoon, Mr. Hawkins.
Good afternoon, Ralph. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And I would add to that, Lieutenant General, that's retired from the United States Air Force.
Yes, sir. Retired. Understood. Thank you. We're talking with Mr. Hawkins today. Angelo State University last fall received the Seal of Excellencia from Excellency in Education. And they established the SEAL program as a national certification for institutions that strive to go beyond enrollment to intentionally serve Latino students. So since becoming an HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution, Angelo State, what I read here, sir, is work to become a Hispanic serving institution, really putting the name behind their words. So you guys have been doing this through a multi-pronged approach to remove barriers, increase access, facilitate and enhance the college experience, and promote a cultural belonging. So what did this increased access that you guys provide for Latino students look like?
Well, Ralph, that's multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
I would start with how it is that we advertise and introduce ourselves to the community, and the community at large is a 200-mile radius around San Angelo, Texas. And more importantly, how it is that we go about encouraging Latinx students and the community to consider Angelo State University, being that we're a public university in the state of Texas, and then more importantly, we are a regional university here. So we have a large population of Latinx individuals that we want to let them know what it means to get a degree from Angelo State University. Not that others shouldn't pursue other areas, but we want to let them know about Angelo State.
Now, you are yourself an alum of Angelo State. How did it come about that you went there?
Oh, well, that's a different story in and of itself. I'm also known as a military brat. My father was in the United States Air Force for 26 years.
Okay.
And as a result of that, he got stationed here, and I came here obviously with him and my whole family back when I was in the ninth grade, and ended up running track on a scholarship here at Angelo State University, and graduating from Angelo State University and going into the Air Force myself, and spending 37 years there, and then coming back here retired with my wife, who I also met here in the 10th grade, excuse me. And this is home for us. But when this opportunity to be the president presented itself, we were blessed, and God gave us this opportunity.
So I note that you are a junior. I'm a junior as well. So how much influence did Mr. Hawkins Sr. have on your life? Obviously, a lot if you joined the Air Force as well, but what else did he impart on you?
Well, his own wisdom and his own desire to see his family improve themselves and have opportunities to improve themselves. And his high standard for excellence. He was my father, and he was a Chief Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force, the highest rank you can get as an enlisted person. And he was the first African American to be selected for Chief Master Sergeant at Goodfellow Air Force Base, which is right outside San Angelo. So he imparted a lot. He impacted a lot as well, which is why my concern or drive as an African American to support what we're focused on here, the Latinx community, it was an easy go for me. My father was that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Still sticking to, I guess, your story there as an alum, you mentioned that which I didn't know, you actually ran track and field there. So one of the things that, has been big that we've talked about, I know you guys compete on the Division II level, but as a president and at your institution, have you all had to deal with any issues with NIL or transfer portal stuff at Angelo?
We deal with both of those. I'm not going to say on a daily basis, because that would be a stretch, but we've had to deal with both of those in the positive as well as in quote unquote the negative. And that negative is a harsh enough term in and of itself. But when I say negative, it's when it did not benefit the university or the student athlete for that matter. And so those situations have arisen, but for the most part, it's been a positive move for us when you start dealing with NIL and the portal. And I would say especially the portal. We've had some great players go, and we've had some fantastic players come to our university to help us support what we call a winning institution and focus and framework here. So it's been good.
How has NIL affected your students? Like, what percentage of your athletes are receiving
Yeah,
those?
yeah, I could not give you the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you we have student athletes that are a part of NIL, and none of that has been a negative here at Angelo State University. That also doesn't mean we have a flood of student athletes that have NIL. That is handled very well within our academic arena and department. Our athletic director, Mr. James Reed, Coach Reed, does a very good job of explaining to our student athletes what is available for them and how it is they should approach that. For the most part, the university does not have a play in NIL, as in how we can direct students to a yes or to a no. That is something that is to them to do on their own. And the university is not to get involved in NIL from that perspective. But we still mentor and teach and talk to our student athletes about a myriad of things, NIL being one of them.
Okay. Now we're talking about student athletes. I would be remiss if I didn't say I need you and your athletic director to nominate your minority student athletes for the Arthur Ashe Award, which we've been giving out for, gosh, over 35 years now, if I'm not mistaken. I think we started in 1991, so I can't do that math that fast, but definitely would like for you guys to submit some of your student athletes. So when you were a student, how do you think you would have felt about the NIL or transfer portal, or did you think about that?
Well, there was no need to think about it when I was a student back in I came here in 1973
Oh, wow.
and graduated 1973, 1971 and graduated in 1974. And I came here on a track scholarship, and there were some very limited things that I could do and could not do. And one of those was you could not, once you started your athletic prowess or program or sport, you had to finish it there. You couldn't just go moving around to other universities like you can now with the portal. And I don't bemoan the fact that that's the way it was, because in fact, if I had gone to the university that first recruited me, my coach ended up, or say my coach, that coach ended up moving. But I would have had to have stayed at that university to finish my athletic career. So I'm not against the portal by any stretch of the imagination. I'm more concerned with how our student athletes jump into the portal for possibly all the wrong reasons, should I say. When it comes to NIL, I couldn't take an offer for anything from anybody, buying me a hamburger or whatnot. That just was verboten, if you will, from that perspective. But again, our student athletes have great opportunities for them, and I applaud that being the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of digressing here. So I played football in college, and I transferred. I started at West Point, actually, and I
Yeah,
transferred to William and Mary. Now, when I transferred, we had to sit out a whole year before
whole
you could
year.
play.
Yeah,
So were you saying when you were in school, you couldn't transfer at all,
we
or you
we
get the
couldn't.
year two?
We could not in what was known as the Lone Star Conference. Now, I don't know about NCAA, how that came about and where we were at, but at that time, yeah, you couldn't transfer.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and play.
Right.
And also to your point, Ralph, I was not interested in sitting out a year of anything because I wanted to get through my college program and degree so that I could do things for myself.
Understood. Yeah.
My scholarship was a means to an end, is what it
Yeah,
was. I knew
absolutely.
I wasn't going pro. I knew that was not in the future. It wasn't even in a sport that I was best at. But my aspirations were not to go pro.
Right. Understood. Yeah, that sitting out that year, I can tell you personally, it felt like 4 years.
Yeah.
But no, so you told us a little bit there. when I looked at your background, you are definitely unique as when it comes to university presidents, besides those, that are commandants at the academies. So having such a long storied, distinguished military career, and then, you had your own business there for a while. What was the drive for higher ed for you to move over?
The drive really wasn't for higher ed. The drive was for supporting Angelo State University
Hmm.
and being a part of that. And I saw this as an opportunity to do that. And I tell everybody I never even had an inkling of thinking about being in higher ed other than being a visiting professor here at Angelo State and taught leadership, developed a couple of leadership courses to make that happen right after I retired from the military, but never to have been the president or in higher ed. It was more about how can I help Angelo State University. And so when the opportunity to be president came up, you're right. I'm a unicorn of sorts. I don't have a doctorate. I don't proclaim to have had a doctorate, although I have multiple masters that could add up to it pretty
Hmm.
quick. But I know what it takes to have that PhD. And I didn't have that. But that's why I tell you, I was blessed by God to have the opportunity to come here and do what I'm doing right now.
So without having that background or knowledge, if you will, what's been the biggest challenge you faced that you were not expecting?
The biggest challenge that we face, that I have faced, that I did not expect, is how the budget is run at the
Hmm.
state level. I'm used to having been in the military, having a budget every year, although in the last 10 or 15 years, the continuing resolutions that are going on in the world, that messes that up. But the long and the short, this
Hmm.
our budget is done on a biennium every 2 years. I'm not used to having to manage a budget in that process, right? I was not, excuse me. Managing a budget is managing a budget. How it is that you execute, how it is that you request, how it is that you look towards the future, that was different. I don't want to call it challenging, but it was definitely different. The good news is I have some great people that work with me.
Hmm.
And so without coming in here and trying to think or show them that I think I know as much. It was they have taught me very well, and we've come a long way.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't realize that, but after you said it, I thought about it because the Texas legislature meets every other year, right? So that's why you
That's
got
correct.
a biannual budget. Okay, that makes sense. So thinking about that, well, not necessarily thinking about your budget, but now you're here, you're at Angelo State, and I want to get into the Latino Latinx student success that we're here to talk about a little bit. But when you look at the institution today compared to when you were there as a student, what changes have you seen? Besides, the obvious changes over time, but what's different about the institution, or is it still the same?
Well, it's a very different university, and not because anything was wrong when I was here.
Right.
It is just expanded, and it is expanded in a dynamic and innovative way. The institution that I was here with had less than 5,000 students in it. We now went over 11,000 students. When you talk about the modality of how we educate and provide information and a curricula to our students, vastly different now than it was back then. I was a computer programmer. That's what
Mhm.
I did, and that's what I majored in the business side. And I was using punch cards in
Mhm.
an IBM system that you had to take the punch cards into the building right across the way from where I'm at right now. Now we look at us now. We're communicating. I don't even know where you're at, but here we are communicating real time slash near real time. And those things are going on. Cell phones were not even thought of back
Right,
when
right.
I was growing up. But that lends to where I'm getting ready to go. The majority of the university was very very small, and I don't want to say inward focused, but it was majority of the university were people around San Angelo. Now
Hmm.
it's just not around San Angelo. It's outside the state of Texas. It's international students. We have many, many students from the Asian Pacific area. Conversely, we have a lot of students from over in Europe and the continent of Africa. So all of those things are available to us now, both face to face as well as virtually. And it's an incredible opportunity for continued growth that way in the things that we are now doing at Angelo State.
That's interesting. Why do you think, or what is the draw? What are you guys telling the world about Angelo State that's getting you to get international students and students from outside of where you traditionally got students?
Well, sure. There's a couple of things. The curriculum that we have, the culture that is here, and more importantly, where we're located. We're not in a big town. We're not in a big city, I should say. We're in a big town of sorts, but we're not in Dallas, Texas. We're not in San Antonio, Texas, two of the largest cities in the United States.
Hmm.
But we are in Texas, number one. And that's a draw in and of itself. People do still do want to come to Texas from as far away as, if you will, California and beyond. And so those things are draws. We're a public institution, and as such, we also have an incredible scholarship base and endowment here that many public universities, absent the bigger ones and the more mature ones, read Texas or Texas A&M, they don't have.
Hmm.
And as a regional university, it's a very popular way to get an education. I'm not going to say on the cheap because it's not. There's nothing cheap about it, but get a very quality education that gets you to be competitive in the global workforce. And so we're very proud of that.
Yeah. Like I said, when we're looking at or asking about what did Angelo State look like when you were there versus what it looks like now. And when I'm looking at, in particular, your Latinx students, the numbers have obviously increased to a level that you are, officially an HSI institution. And you guys talk about that you've increased access and removed the barriers, for that type of student achievement. What were the previous barriers that were there that you guys have taken down that have allowed Latinx students to succeed?
One of the bigger barriers that I know about
Hmm.
is when we went out to recruit, we only ran out and recruited and spoke it in English
Mm.
to parents as well as to students. We don't do that now. We It's a bilingual type of a presentation that we do. We focus in on the things that we believe the Latinx community needs to know about. While the culture is there, we're very, very proud of that culture. We have re-energized what we do also in that way, and it runs the gamut from the music that we have. We now have a mariachi band that we have stood up, and or should I say, reinvented here
Hmm.
at Angelo State University. Our largest club that we have on this campus is from the Latinx community called AMAS. And so all of those things we focus in on. We focus in on their needs as well. There are a lot of students, not just Latinx students, that have a food insecurity situation on their
Hmm.
hands when they come to any university. We're trying to zero in on those things. And the beauty of what we're doing for the Latinx community are the things we want to do for all environments and communities. So when we purposefully said that's what we were doing with the Latinx community, it transfers over into everybody else as well. And not that it's easy doing it, I'm not telling you that, but
Right,
it's not hard to defend. When you're serving all, you serve the one.
right, right. In particular, I was looking at one of the successful programs that you guys have that you're doing, and one of that is the dual credit program,
Yep.
which is, the retention rate for your Hispanic students is high, very high, and actually outpacing other groups on campus. So how do you credit that? What would be the reason that you think that they're doing so much better than everyone else?
Well, there's two reasons. First, we're recruiting them, and then we're retaining them,
Right.
and then they matriculate, hopefully, in the dual credit particularly, they matriculate to Angelo State University because they've been a part of it in the embryonic stage of doing all of that. So what we have done, again, was focused in on the needs of all. And one of the things that we found out is the needy and worthy students were getting, quote unquote, passed over or not looked at as much as those students that were, quote unquote, academically inclined all the way. That does not mean the Latinx community was not academically inclined, but there was a need for getting them into school. That's called the tuition and the fees that go along with that. And we have a program in our dual credit schools that we would pay for a student, any student that was needy or worthy. We would scholarship their opportunity to get dual credit in the state of Texas. And we were one of the very, very few that did that. And in fact, we have the largest dual credit population in the state of Texas right now as a result of the things that we are doing. But that goes back to what I was saying before. When you just target one community for that type of opportunity, you only get that one community. But when you put that, you spread it across, that's what we were able to do. And we were able to speak to Latinx students in their, I would call it their native tongue. And so their parents as well. Those things help out as you move forward. And then when you get them here, it's again, the retention piece of that. We have an incredible freshman college that looks at how we get students in and retain them and move them all the way through. And so all of those things together, our freshman college, our early alert system, when somebody is having trouble in a class. Matter of fact, I was just typing or sending emails on that this morning, even making it better than what we have it right now. Professors are hitting that button, and there's a lot of people that go to work searching out for the Ronnie Hawkins Juniors of the world who need some help. And let me tell you what, I needed some help when I was here before.
Understood. Didn't we all? Boy, taking me back. But, so if I look at you as an example, you needed help, you needed mentors, et cetera, to help you get through. And you obviously are a success, at least in your career. So since you've been there, can you give me a success story of a student you've seen matriculating at Angelo and that's been a beneficiary of the programs and how that's manifested itself?
Well, I stopped short of giving names because I don't have their permission. But yeah, I can give you 100 examples of that right now. I can give you past as well as present. But we have had students come here having been recruited as a result of where we're focused in on being an HSI and are prepared to graduate with degrees in engineering that they never would have had that chance before. Number one, had we not started the engineering course, and have we not specifically, purposefully targeted the Hispanic serving needs of our community. And they've already graduated with engineering degrees. One of these young men is working at Goodfellow Air Force Base as a result of having been an intern here and the military picking him up, not to put him in uniform, but in a civilian career. He's sitting over there, Hispanic individual, having come out of our engineering program here. We have individuals that are now in our commercial aviation program that would not have been there had it not been for how it is that we recruit and retain them specifically from the Hispanic Serving Institution and our STEM degree. And we're not stopping there. We're getting ready to build a mobile laboratory that we can go around to schools and not just schools that serve the Hispanic community, but we can go around and hit the Hispanic community that way and get them interested in science, math, engineering, the arts as well. We now call it STEAM instead of just STEM, but all of those things are a part of our focus right now on how it is that we recruit individuals to this university, and particularly Latinx students. The minority is Latinx. It's not even the minority anymore when it's all said and done. And we need to recognize that if I'm looking at your sign back there, diverse. It is a diverse world we live in right now, and leaving anybody behind is not the right thing to do.
When you look, we talk about you guys are a regional school, so you look at the demographics of your area, obviously with the programs that you have. you have a very high Latinx community in and around your institution. So I would be remiss of not talking about this. With your background in the military, you're talking about diverse, my name in the background. Our co-founder, Dr. William E. Cox, was second in command of Air Force education at the Pentagon when he left to start Diverse. So to ask you about what's the state of affairs with current and former service members that are from your area and trying to get them to come to Angelo State? Or do you guys have an intentional program of trying to recruit current service members and former service members that are from the area to come to Angelo State?
Okay. All right. The answer to that question is yes, we do that, but we do that because we're also recognized for our support of our veterans and military members in the state of Texas as well as outside the state of Texas. We have one of the strongest security studies programs in the nation as a result of our focus here. That was started long before me in the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center for Security Studies, that is now over in our Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center for Cybersecurity Innovation and Security Studies. But we attract those individuals also because we've got Goodfellow Air Force Base sitting right outside. That is the joint base for training of all intel officers and enlisted personnel, save the separate ones that the Army has out in Fort Huachuca. Been out there, done that, got that T-shirt. The Navy has their own. Air Force obviously has their own right here, Navy and Marines. So all of those things help us attract military members. We are also have a large concentration of retirees here in San Angelo. So that helps us boost us and the alumni that are part of that. So there's not a means or an opportunity there when it comes to trying to look at the military that we don't work on trying to attract them here.
Okay, good. I was reading about I'm sure you're familiar with the Hazelwood Act.
Yeah, Hazelwood.
Yeah, so I really like that. Do you have a number of your students that take advantage of that? And for those of you not aware, the Hazelwood Act is allowed, if I'm saying this right, if you qualify. I think it's just for veterans that have
for veterans, their families as well.
Exactly.
And there's a Hazelwood legacy that gets you can be, I think it's 25 years old and be a dependent and or in that family tree of dependents. And you can come to any public school in Texas and your tuition or fees are paid for.
Right. Yeah. Up to 150 credits.
Up to 150 credits, right.
And you had to have, when you started service, have been a resident of Texas or had some type of.
Yeah, you've got to be a resident of Texas in order to receive that benefit, the Hazelwood benefit.
Yeah. So no, that's really good. So it's sort of maybe I don't want to say the last thing we'll talk about here, but when I look at a lot of the programs that you guys are talking about, like specifically, your outreach into the Latinx community, and we've heard a lot about, this, nationally here, I guess in the past 18 months or so, this constant attack on DEI in higher education. And obviously, Florida and Texas have been leading the charge in that, at least from a media standpoint. So with the Senate Bill 17 in Texas stating that effectively January 1st, 2024, that public institutions of higher education in Texas cannot engage in diversity, equity, and inclusion activities. That's it at a high level. So what has been the direct, and if you can also address the indirect impact of what you think that'll be on your campus moving forward?
Well, the direct impact is what you just stated. We had to eliminate our diversity and inclusion office. We have never had an equity piece of that in anything that we have done for a lot of different reasons. But our diversity and inclusion office and officer and director, we had to eliminate those positions and that title and that office. Has it hurt us? I can't tell you that. We just did it in the 1st of January. But we are moving on and enforcing and following the laws that have come out from the state of Texas. And it's not just thing that has been spoken of. It's been a directive. And it's something that we we will adhere to here at Angelo State. Again, the effect, negative or positive, I can't tell you, but we haven't let it stop us from doing what we do. And that doesn't mean we're going around the law, because we're not. Um, as I've shared with you on the front end of this, everything we do is for everyone.
Right.
The fact that we're able to attract an ethnicity of any sort is because of what we do for all, and we don't limit it. We don't put any type of quantity on any of what we do, but we also will let you know what we have here at Angelo State University. Um,
Hmm.
and when that's all said and done, it's a diverse community. We didn't force it that way. It
Right.
is what it is. Witness the president.
No, exactly. So when you look at when you said you guys had to eliminate your diversity office, what happened with those employees? Did you guys have to lose people? Did you create new jobs? How did that work out?
Well, I don't want, first off, we didn't lose anyone.
Good.
And we didn't lose our character in how it is that we have worked through that. And the fact of the matter is, it's gotten better for the individual that was the director. She is now doing much, much more than we ever thought was even possible. But because of having seen her professional acumen, it
Hmm.
was we were able to add other things into what it is that she now does. She's in charge of our leader development office here in at Angelo State University. She's in charge of our cultural engagement into the community here at Angelo State University. She does all of those things. And I don't mind telling you who she is, because it's on the website.
Yeah.
Dr. Flor Leos.
Hmm.
She had one job before, now she has five. And so I don't think we took anything away from what she's doing.
Well, if you're getting 5 times the pay, I hope, right?
Oh yeah, she's getting five times the pay. Here's me talk about it all the time. That's payment enough. No, don't even go there, Ralph.
No, I'm just kidding, but I understand. No, I appreciate your time here. Um, and being cognizant of time, we're gonna wrap it up here. Gonna completely shift gears and with playoff NFL playoff season in mind, I want to get your predictions for next week.
My position for next week is it's going to be the Ravens and the Niners are going to be playing each other next week.
All right,
My
and
team's not there anymore. They didn't even show up last Sunday.
who's that now?
That's the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh. Well, I wasn't gonna go there. You were saying you didn't know where I was. We're in the Washington D.C. area, so
Oh, okay.
uh, so this is
Yeah, you guys don't have a team up there either.
no. Well, we for this few weeks we claim Baltimore since they're only they're only 40 minutes away. But
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah,
I
so
was up
that
there. I
your
was up
time in
there.
Fort Meade, right?
I was in Fort Meade for an incredible amount of time, and all of it positive too.
Yeah, yeah. So okay. All right, retired Lieutenant General Ronnie Hawkins Jr. We appreciate your time and we thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Well, Ralph, appreciate what you do, and appreciate what your organization represents and how it is that you're trying to get the word out. Anytime that I can help you with that, let me know.
Will do. All
Go
right.
Rams and Bells.
All right. All right, sir.